And this is Land Cruiser Park, and you know why we're here, don't you? Because it's time we stepped up the Milo 2 program. We've got the new Terrain Tamer winch on the X-Rocks bar up the front. I want to give that a try. And we've got some XTM recovery gear to try out too. But most of all, it's been raining up here at the park, and things can get a little bit desperate after a few good days of rain. Not raining at the moment though, so let's see what happens. This could be very interesting. Well, what we'll do is we'll go up Prado Parade, and then we'll come back down Timberjack Hill, and we might just have a look at Cruiser Canyon, see how we go.
I've heard a lot about Cruiser Canyon.
Yeah, everyone talks about it.
What tyre pressure do you reckon I should run?
Oh, mate, well, I'm going to go like 24 and 26 on this one. Just that's kind of my general rule of thumb when it's a little bit wet in the park and we're doing steep stuff. To be honest, as soon as I get on the dirt with the leaf spring truck, I'm dropping it down to 24, 25, 26. So. But with yours, I think you'll get a bit of extra traction, and then if we need to, if we get a bit stuck, that still gives us 4 to 6 PSI we can drop.
Yeah.
So we'll go for that.
All right, ideal.
Cool. Picked out this track at Prado Parade because I know that it's really tough after a few days rain because the water gets underneath it, makes it really slippery. So this is going to be a good test for a lot of things, but one of the things I hadn't figured on here was how obvious the difference would be between my leaf sprung old Milo 2 and Richard's coil sprung 105. The difference is absolutely amazing. Not that there's anything wrong with Milo 2 though, she just punches on like a tough truck should. Now Richard's an awesome driver, he really is. He hasn't done a lot of four-wheel driving, but he's had an awful lot of rally experience. That gives him all the clues he needs for the traction quotient, so to speak. But I'll tell you what, the old coil springs, they've got so many advantages in terrain like this. And he's running a set of my old muddies too, the old Cooper Pro STTs. Pretty worn out, but good for this kind of work. Whoa! Gee, we're sliding easy, aren't we? Hey? It's really slippery under that. My father-in-law, Graham, the old sea dog, along to have a look at what his son-in-law does for a living. Oh, nice job, mate. Beautiful. And that's why we love coil suspension. Look at that. Well, it's hard to beat coils off-road, you know. They've got so many advantages. And you're probably wondering how come I'm sticking with leaf springs. Well, it's because I'm a troglodyte. I like old-fashioned stuff. But there's also some benefits to leaf springs. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to stick with leaf springs forever, because more than once I've thought about during the Milo rebuild that's not too far away, we might look at an alternative. But when you look at leaf springs, you can see why they've worked so well for so long. If you get really good springs, they're well made. Okay, which means they're going to have really solid, chunky retainers. They'll have a centre pin that you can play with, that you can pull leaves in and out. It's got this Terrain Tamer string's got these load bearers underneath that mean, you know, you could have half a dozen 44-gallon drums on the back of your tray back going like this, still not going to break. Then you get things like the military wrap ends. That kind of stuff means that even if everything else breaks, the spring stays in place. Now, you can combine that with stuff like this is a new set of Terrain Tamer shackles, or just one shackle, missing some of the bits because I've borrowed them. But nuts, bolts, grease nipples, easily greased shanks. Leaf springs are the suspension of choice for people like me who like things that are really tough, are easily fixed out in the bush, and you can do your own maintenance and make the things run beautifully. Having said all of that, you've just seen what happens with leaves on the dirt. They get hung up in ruts, all sorts of things, you know. And if I can't get Planetary Hubs next time around, I'm going to have to go to Coils because there's so many big tired coil spring trucks out there. What are coils like? Well, you know, here's a coil. Oh, look, don't get upset, listen, people. This is actually out of the front of one of my motorbikes, and I got it out because it's the only coil spring I've got here at home at the moment. And that is essentially your entire springing. So if this was to scale, that's probably a 6-inch coil on a lifted Nissan or something. When it breaks, bonk, it just snaps, winds into itself. Not a lot you can do with it other than stuff a tree under there or something. You can't weld them. There's a whole lot of things you can't do with coils. Do they work better? Of course they do. Even like this, it works better. It's more functional, it's more comfortable, and it gives you much greater access because your axles are free to play. That's the restriction, the axle and not the spring hanging underneath it. There you go, guys. Next time around, let's see what happens to Milo. Meanwhile, back at Cruiser Park, the further we go up this track, the wetter it is underneath. You can just feel it slipping all over the place. Now, I'm having a little bit of an issue here with Milo too, but it's got a lot to do with just the sheer angle she's on. This was forced onto me to some degree by the leaf springs. That's where the coils would have just come in that much better straight away. Possibly I could have avoided this, although look at it. Look how slimy it is. You almost drop straight back into that no matter what angle you take. This was going to prove to be a problem later on this week. Hang around, you'll see. There goes the...
Don't ask
We're
me.
about to punch the... Okay, I'm going to try to do what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm going to have to use the winch because it's either that or stick a dirt in the tyre. Yeah, we're trialling a whole lot of new things here. One of them's the front runner boxes on top of the roof. I thought the idea here with the front runner rack would be to put our recovery gear up there in the box where I can get at it easy no matter what's happening. Obviously you're going to get at it easier when the truck's on its side, but we won't go there just yet. Meanwhile, out comes the new XTM gear. Now, I had a lot to do with testing the first lot of gear BCF brought in, and now they've updated a few things, but I'll tell you what, it's still good quality gear. I really enjoy using it too. Clear labelling, bright colours, exactly what you need when you're trying to recover your recovery gear late at night. So I've got Kazza watching the tree to make sure we don't hit it, and I've got the front locker in at the moment because I'm getting away with it, but it's kind of hard without power steering, and I don't like putting that sort of stress on the truck anyway. I'm very easy on the front locker button. Hey, get a load of that XTM bag with all the gear in it. It makes a perfect winch blanket all in one. I love that. That's sensible, and it's got the sort of weight you need to stop that hook flicking back too. Meanwhile, the Terrain Tamer winch is working absolutely brilliantly. Winds itself in and out, quick enough, no problems at all. I'm really enjoying it, but we haven't tested it to its limits yet. That'll come. You can see here I got the front locker off. I mean, why would you use it when you're using the winch rope anyway? There's really no advantage other than putting extra strain on everything. The only thing I want to put strain on at the moment is my new winch runner. Good on ya, Kazza. It's training for more things than just one, isn't it? Not just the truck and the tyres and the suspension. Here we are working up the crew a little bit too. Too good. Ah, well, another climb made. Milo 2's on a winning streak. But the rest of the track has to be done yet. And there's some big doolies coming up before long. Meanwhile, Richard's given Graham a few thrills. Oh yeah, that's the line. Just right hand down and go back a bit, Rich, and get a different angle on. That's it. Yeah, you might need to do that again, mate. Your back wheel's off the ground here. Whoa, 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 whoa. You don't want to drop into that ditch. Okay, now go left hand down and boot it from there. No. She ain't going nowhere, mate. It's just too slimy. Do you want a winch?
Yeah, go on.
The angle Rich is on at the moment, which is kind of one of those tricky ones. If he was to pull, or if I was to pull him, because he hasn't got a winch, from that tree over there, we run a big risk of tipping it over. So what I'm going to do is peg one of these trees up here, because this is all really slippery, as you would have seen, you know, it's really greasy. So if I peg a tree with the X-Rocks up there and we thread the winch through, we may need an extension strap, we'll see how we go, and that way we'll get the right line. So if nothing else, we're pulling his wheels back down instead of pulling the vehicle over. This is all in theory though. When it goes crunch, it's all Richard's idea, okay? I don't know whether we'll get a straight rope to you, mate. We'll see. Yeah, we're gonna make it. Ooh, look, it's just churning up slipperier and slipperier, isn't it? It's truth. We're really testing the winch here anyway, with the full weight of a 105 cocked up like that. Well, it's been a big day already, and it's all had to do with dealing with mud. But a little bit of winching's the only way to test out recovery gear, isn't it? You know what? At this stage, I'm really happy. It isn't going to last for too long, but you're going to have to stay tuned if you want to see why, aren't you? Meanwhile, Graham's giving me a hand to wrap up the rope, and me and the handbrake, and Richard and Graham and Simon, we're all going to head back to camp now. And as you know, if you've ever been there, there's not much more peaceful than settling in at Land Cruiser Park with a nice fire. But I tell you what, same time, same Ruthie channel, if you want to see what happened when the testing got really serious, and I mean serious, as bad as it can get.